Welcome to Scrolling to Death. Today I have the founder of Defend Young Minds, Kristen Jenson. Hi, Kristen.
Hey, Nikki, good to be here with you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm excited to have this conversation. And we're here to talk about a topic that I think many parents avoid talking about, and that is pornography. So, parents today grew up with little or no access to pornography online. And so when we were kids, we maybe got exposed through our dad's Playboy magazine, or, maybe someone had a CD with some pictures on it, that kind of thing. And so I've heard parents in my community say, especially dads, they'll say, well, they're going to look at porn at some point. So what's the big deal? And so that leads into my first question is, what is the big deal about porn nowadays, and how does it compare to when we grew up?
Yeah, the porn of yesteryear is quaint in comparison.
Mhm.
Today's
Right.
porn is so accessible. It's not just still photos, it's full color, video. Um,
Hmm.
it is because of its addictive nature, the pornographers have had to push to make it more and more extreme. Because with any addiction, you've got to keep, upping the ante to get that
Hmm.
same kind of level of high or arousal. So because of that, you've got more and more extreme pornography. So really, vanilla porn, which is simply sex between a man and a woman, that's just like vanilla porn. You've got
Hmm.
such extreme porn, including, bestiality, and with children and
Hmm.
multiple, and rape scenes and on, to
Hmm.
the point where we don't even want to listen anymore about this. But um, so it's just gotten so much more deviant and extreme that it's
Hmm.
hijacking our children's sexual templates, right? It is teaching them what sex is all about. And that is not what sex is all about. I mean, that porn is sex negative, right? We want to go in and teach them something positive about what, the ideal of what sex can be.
Hmm.
But porn is there to basically rob our children of that healthy sexual intimacy that can be in their future and can be such a foundation for a happy life. So, we need to warn our kids and help them understand why they don't want to get, involved with pornography.
Hmm. And, kids are getting access to devices earlier and earlier. And that's where they're seeing this, that's where they're getting access to porn, because often these devices have unrestricted internet access. What's the average age now that children are seeing pornography?
Yeah, so I could give you a couple of ages. Um,
Okay.
I could give you three. That's not an average
Oh,
age, but 3-year-olds are seeing porn. The
wow.
problem with average and statistics
Hmm.
is, how do you do these studies? Do you get kids from
Right.
preschool to high school and then survey all of them and
Uh-huh.
figure out which have seen it, which haven't?
Right.
Probably not going to be an approved study if you're including, you know, such young children. So what they do is
Hmm.
they do studies where they ask people to look back and say, when did you first see
Mm.
porn? So, for example,
Okay.
Common Sense Media came out with a study just about a year ago. Um, and they said that 15% of the teenagers, pretty much, that they had uh, talked to, and and they may have talked to kids as young as 11 or 12, um,
Hmm.
that saw a pornography at age 10 or younger. So
Okay.
15% were seeing pornography before the age of 10. That's often
Hmm.
before any parent is talking to their kids about sex. So then their first
Hmm.
exposure is, you know, to pornography, and that's what sex is. And, are you saying that, and I've heard some kids or read where kids are saying, if that's what my parents are doing, like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be slapped and
Right.
choked and my hair pulled and all these other horrible things. Um,
Hmm.
so there are other statistics say that 44% saw it intentionally, but
Mhm.
58% saw it accidentally, which means
Mhm.
porn is predatory, and their friends are showing it to them, right?
Mhm.
So where kids might not go out and look for it themselves, they're seeing it on video games, they're seeing it in pop-ups, they're seeing it in
Yep.
all these other ways. Another statistic from Common Sense Media is that 71% who say they view it intentionally
Mhm.
have viewed it within the week. So it's a
Mhm.
regular habit.
Mhm.
So it's unintentional exposure is a common experience. Um, but get this, 45% in this one study, and I've seen it
Mhm.
actually a little higher in other studies, but
Mhm.
45%, almost half of the respondents felt that online pornography gave helpful information about sex. That is scary because there's just so
Mhm.
much misogyny in it. It is not helpful. It is not going to help kids have a great sex life when they get older. There's so many
Mhm.
studies that say it's going to harm their intimacy and harm their ability to have a happy marriage. So
Yeah,
that's what
so
I
let's
have
talk
against
about
porn.
that. Yeah, so well let's dig into that. How does it affect them later on in life to see it this early? So what are you seeing
So
there?
before they even have developed some of these other, there's so many, we could go on for so long on this
I
one,
know.
but
What stands out to you? What are
well,
the highlights?
your first exposure to pornography is probably includes violence.
Mm.
So that's kind of the opposite of what we like to
Mhm.
teach our children about sex, right?
Yeah.
Sex should, and
Yes.
so this is why I advocate for early, intentional early talks about pornography, age
Mhm.
appropriate. But as they get a little older, talking about, okay, this is what ideally sex should be so that you can be
Mhm.
happy and have a great sex life.
Mhm.
And this is what, is going to harm you. These are the ideas. So it is just 180 degrees opposite where
Mhm.
porn is, and I write about this on defendyoungminds.com. Um,
Mhm.
porn leads to violence, leads to loneliness, um, leads to
Mhm.
addiction, leads to, a degraded, sexual practices, um,
Mhm.
and harmful sexual
Yeah.
practices.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, ideally, healthy sex is loving, is respectful,
Mhm.
is kind, um, and it's consensual, and it's
Mhm.
something that builds a relationship instead of
Mhm.
destroys it. Where porn, I mean, if couples watch porn, they have a threefold risk of infidelity in their marriage, according to one study. So
Mm. Wow.
not actually going to help. So there are therapists that recommend couples watch porn. They should see the
Mm.
studies. Couples that watch porn
Mhm.
together actually don't do very well in their marriages.
Mhm. And physical effects. So I found a stat that through the American Medical Association that found that that hours spent watching porn was negatively correlated with the amount of gray matter in the front of the brain.
Yep.
So more porn watching, less gray matter, dulled the ability to actually feel pleasure and
Right.
motivation.
Brain shrinkage in this part of the brain. So here's the part of the brain,
Yeah.
the prefrontal cortex, where it's the thinking brain. And that's why I talk about in good pictures, bad pictures.
Mhm.
Um, the thinking brain is where we learn to make good decisions, stop, think about things, weigh the
Mhm.
consequences, um, all those things that we need as an adult to function well and to make good choices. When that
Mhm.
feeling part of the brain um, hijacks the thinking part of the brain, the thinking part shrinks. It's
Mhm.
it's you're not using it as much, so you lose it. So you have actual
Mhm.
shrinkage. This is an MRI studies. So kids that already don't have the full capacity, their thinking brain is still developing till their early
Mhm.
20s. now they're stunted even more with,
Right.
this addicting material. So I think that,
Mhm.
um, and there's a lot of other things. You spend so much time with porn, your social skills go down. Again, you're
Mhm.
objectifying, especially men objectifying, boys objectifying girls, um,
Mhm.
early in development. So,
Yeah.
um, and, we can also talk about how it fuels child on child harmful sexual behavior. Um,
Oh yeah.
so there's just no, like, there's no upside to a child seeing
Mhm.
pornography. Absolutely none.
Yeah. Did I read correctly that teen boys are experiencing erectile dysfunction?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it used to be that young men under 40, like 3%
Mhm.
had erectile dysfunction. Um, Fast forward through now, we have, uh, smart devices with porn on them, and it has gone
Mhm.
up 1,000%. A third of young men now have erectile dysfunction. Now, some of that could be obesity. I'm willing to, you know, but a
Mhm.
lot of it is porn because it just tops you out, and
Mhm.
now you can't. Um, you can have an arousal, an erection to porn,
Mhm.
but not with
Mhm.
your wife, right? You can no
Mhm.
longer become aroused because your wife's not porn. Your wife is a real
Right.
human person.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, no, I wish every 14, 15-year-old boy knew that that
Mhm.
was an issue. And there are men out there, warning about this. Time actually did a big article on this a couple years ago. So
Mhm.
porn is called
Yeah.
porn-induced erectile dysfunction. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Let's back up a little and talk about introducing sex to your child. So, when I grew up, even when I grew up, parents didn't really tell their kids about sex. We had a class maybe in 6th grade where you learned the science, and I think my mom gave us a book about it, but that left children with a lot of unanswered questions, and you often figured out sex from friends and experimentation as a teenager and all these things. So we figured it out. But today, kids are using the internet to learn about sex, which is not how I want my children to be introduced to
No.
sex. So, can you kind of describe the process nowadays for introducing a consensual sex to your child?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think consent is a
Mhm.
word that we should use with adults because only
Okay.
adults
Hmm.
can give consent. Children can
Right.
have boundaries. So I really
Hmm.
advocate for using boundaries for children because what if you teach your 10-year-old that they can give consent or not give consent and they
Hmm.
like having sex with Uncle Kenny? And they say, well, but I
Hmm.
like it, so I'm giving my consent because he buys me things. You know what I mean? We just don't want
Hmm.
children. Children are able to give consent, my
Hmm.
opinion. I
Hmm.
think it's the right opinion,
Yeah.
but they
Okay.
can
Right.
have boundaries. Um,
Yeah.
so as far as teaching children about sex, I really believe we've got to start earlier,
Hmm.
and be very proactive about it. You start by naming, the parts of the body and giving them the
Hmm.
appropriate names. Um,
Hmm.
I know one woman who had a 3-year-old. This 3-year-old was babysat by a 14-year-old boy who was a member of their extended family. They totally trusted him. But what happened was he was sexually abusing her horrifically. And she came home the first day, after he had watched her, and she said to her mom, I don't like it when David pokes me with his stick. But she didn't know the name penis.
Mm.
So if she'd been able to say
Oh.
that, the name of his male part, that would have been the end of it. But
Hmm.
it went on for months because her mother just didn't have any idea that she was getting
Yeah.
hurt. So
Okay.
teach the proper names, not only of the sex of your child, but the sex of, the opposite sex. Um,
Hmm.
and we have an article on defendyoungminds.com called Seven Things
Hmm.
Every 7-Year-Old Should Know About Love and Sex. I'm actually
Okay.
encouraging my daughter to talk
Mhm.
to our 6-year-old grandson earlier so that they're the one that get in there and talk and have the first say about it. I can't
Mhm.
tell you how many stories of 5-year-olds on school buses getting shown porn on a device because every third grader has a
Mhm.
phone. So
Mhm.
that's the thing is start early. Don't make it one big
Mhm.
talk. Just drip, drip, drip.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and realize that you're competing. I don't want to be fear based, but I'm just being realistic. You are
Yeah.
competing with the porn industry and popular media for the sexual
Mhm.
templates of your sons and daughters. And so it really
Mhm.
behooves you to start early so that you
Yeah.
have the voice. You get to make the first impression um,
Mhm.
before porn does.
Yeah. I think some kids may start asking those questions naturally, where do babies come from? How do, my daughter will ask things like, "Oh, they just got married. When does their baby come?" And I have to explain, well, they get to decide that. Well, when do they decide? What do you mean? So those kind of questions happened over years into where she now understands how that all works. But my son has never asked a question in his life about this. So I'll have
You
to
have
kind of
to, yep.
proactively have those
Yeah,
discussions.
I've talked to moms and I've heard parents say, "Well, we start at 11." I'm like, that's too late.
Mm,
They've
yeah,
already heard it at
yeah,
middle school and they've seen porn on their friends' devices. So start at 5, 6, 7.
yeah.
Don't let don't such an important part of our lives. Um,
Mhm,
you know, we don't want to leave that to chance, and we don't want the porn
mhm,
industry hijacking and poisoning our children's sexual
yeah,
templates.
right. I mean, and my son is 6, and there's rumors of children in his class who have unrestricted access to their devices who are watching porn on
Yeah,
their iPads at
yeah.
home. And so don't think it's not happening at 6 years old
I
or
know we don't want
younger.
to believe this. So I
I
wish I
know,
didn't have
it's
this job.
horrible. I know, I
but
know.
but it's
Yeah,
real, it's
it's so
true,
needed.
and unfortunately, until we can do better, and big tech and whatever can
Mhm,
do better at protecting children from seeing
mhm,
this material, then we've got to step in and develop an internal filter and open the channels of communication so they know they can come and
mhm,
talk to us when they see something, when they hear something. Um,
mhm,
I always encourage parents like if a child hears some slang, it's
mhm,
possible, it's very possible it's sexual in nature. If they come home and ask Siri or Google it or whatever, like when they see us doing those kinds of things, then
mhm,
they're going to see or possibly be exposed to some sexual material that you don't want them to see. So have them come
mhm.
to you, teach them. If you hear something you don't understand, come. And if I don't know it, I'll look it up and I'll find the answer
Yeah.
so that you're setting yourself up as the expert on sex
Mhm.
and,
Mhm.
and it's counterfeit, right? So they feel
Yeah.
totally comfortable and safe coming to you.
Mhm. Advising we need to start talking about pornography to our kids at young ages. And you've created some books that help us to introduce the topic. They're called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, and I'll link to those in the description. But can you kind of overview what parents can expect to find in those books?
Yes. So the first book I wrote was for 7 to 11-year-olds. And it
Hmm.
really talked about what I felt was the most concrete thing that kids are not nuanced. They are
Hmm.
black and white.
Hmm.
They are literal.
Hmm.
And so the most concrete thing I felt like I could teach them was about their brain and and about addiction because we live in this world awash in addictive
Hmm.
substances and behaviors, right? So,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, Porn Proofing Today's Young Kids um, teaches children what pornography is, so an age appropriate definition, teaches
Hmm.
them uh, why it's harmful, really good reasons to reject
Hmm.
it. And
Hmm.
mostly we talk about, I mean, we hit on a few other things, but mostly we talk about addiction and protecting the
Hmm.
brain from addiction. So this really can be expanded to any kind of addiction. And then
Mm-hmm.
third, we give them a plan. So in this book, um, right there, it's the can-do plan. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got asked to write one for younger children. And to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I was even shocked, you know, and they're like, well, do
That
you have
one's
something
this
for
one.
preschoolers? There it is. Good pictures.
Yeah, I appreciated this for even my 8-year-old. Like we did this one first, and then I'm going to upgrade to the next conversation. But I liked that intro even at that
Yeah,
age.
I've heard a lot of parents doing that. They kind of start with the younger one and then move up
Mm-hmm.
to the one that has more words and more, explanation.
Mm-hmm.
The older one has like
Yeah.
chapters, so with discussion questions
Yeah.
after each one, and you can kind of take it um, more kind of like slowly. So then the
Yeah.
junior one, it's similar in the sense of it gives kids an age appropriate definition. It gives
Mm-hmm.
kids, a warning that it's harmful
Mm-hmm.
to their brain to look at these
Mm-hmm.
pictures. Not that they're going to be, forever harmed if they see it once, right? We're not freaking
Mm-hmm.
people out, and we're not shaming children.
Yeah.
If you've seen a bad
Right.
picture, there's something good you can do. You can, and then we
Mm-hmm.
have the plan: turn, run, and tell. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so there's a can-do plan for the older kids, was a little more involved, um, and then the turn, run, tell for the younger kids. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just a way for them to begin um, protecting themselves. And we don't want to put the onus on children, but the fact is, we
Mm-hmm.
can't be there every moment. If they go over
Yeah.
to someone's house, a friend's house, if they're in the care of somebody else, if they're with their
Mm-hmm.
cousins, or, we just don't know when and where this might happen. And if they're
Mm-hmm.
prepared and they know what to do, then, they can be just so unburdened. Um,
Yeah.
for the junior one, we actually work with some play therapists, and we have
Mm-hmm.
a play guide, which
Mm-hmm.
you can get. Uh, in the book, there's a QR code, and you can get a play guide. And this just helps you to use stuffed animals and toys and everything to kind of work with the children so they understand the concepts. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
it's just a way to strengthen. So it's totally free. You can download it totally for free from
Okay.
Defend Young Minds. So yeah, look for that. These are books that just make the conversation natural and comfortable, so you can get
Mm-hmm.
started early enough to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. And so ideally you have these conversations before they see pornography, but if they already have seen pornography and you find out, how should we handle
Yeah,
that?
so I've had lots of parents say, "Yeah, I started reading this book and then I found out that they actually had, and I
Yeah.
had no idea." And why? Why
Mm-hmm.
didn't your kid just suddenly come to you? Because they don't even have the vocabulary. Good pictures, bad
Mm-hmm.
pictures helps teach them a vocabulary to use, and that it's okay. Um, so what
Mm-hmm.
to do when you find out that your child has seen pornography? We have a guide for
Mm-hmm.
this, but I can go over a few things. So the guide is,
Mm-hmm.
my kid saw porn, now what? And it's like a 80,
Mm-hmm.
90 page ebook that we sell on
Yeah.
our website. It helps
Okay.
to support all the work that we do. Um, and this uh, book includes um, what I call the SMART plan. So
Mm-hmm.
parents, unfortunately, we can all, and I'm one of them, just sometimes we have
Yeah.
these knee-jerk reactions. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I know we've gotten many emails from parents being distraught about the
Mm-hmm.
fact they found out that their 10-year-old was looking at porn, or their
Yeah.
14-year-old, saw it on the iPad, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing
Mm-hmm.
is when you see evidence or find out, or even if your child admits it to you, right? Stay calm. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if if you can, if you feel yourself, like, deal with your own emotions first before you
Mm-hmm.
try to deal with this situation.
Yeah.
You can take 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, a week to
Mm-hmm. However long
however
it
long
takes.
you need to, you may be trying to restrict access, obviously, but don't, like, think through it before you're punitive, or, decide on discipline. Like, think through it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because knee-jerk reactions, we all know they don't usually work. And they
Mhm.
can leave
Mhm.
some scarring behind. I have examples from my own parenting journey. So I'm not
Yeah.
coming at you with, preaching. I'm just saying I know that it works better if you stay calm. Then M is make
Yeah.
a plan. Okay,
Okay.
how are we going to deal with it? How are we going to get it more information? What questions are we going to ask? And I have a
Mhm.
list of questions in that guide. Um, but as you're asking questions, because you want to know where they saw it, you know,
Mhm.
how much they've seen, what they've
Mhm.
seen, how they felt about it, and
Yeah.
we have a few other kinds of questions. But again, drip, drip, drip. Like you don't want
Mhm.
it to be the Spanish Inquisition, right? You don't want it to
Right.
be an hour
Mhm.
long, intense, like freak
Yeah.
out session where they're just feeling grilled. That they're not going to ever
Mhm.
want to talk about it again.
Mhm.
Lightly, lightly,
Yeah.
lightly
Yeah.
touch, ask a few questions, say, that's great, thank you. And even if though you're dying to like get all
Mhm.
this information, say, you know what, we're going to come back and talk about it,
Mhm.
but make it
Yeah.
like so it's not so, difficult.
Like a dreaded.
Dreaded.
Yeah.
Right. Try to put
Yeah.
yourself in your child's shoes. You know,
Mhm.
your child is not the enemy. Porn is the
Mhm.
enemy. And your child
Mhm.
truly is a victim. Um, Even if you've had this conversation with them, it can be so alluring, We have to mentor
Mhm.
them. We all make
Yeah.
mistakes, right? So as adults, we make mistakes. I mean, we make mistakes every day.
Mhm.
Come on, we have to like
Mhm.
be okay with our kids making mistakes in this area and
Mhm.
working with them
Yeah.
and just trying to persuade them,
Yeah.
persuade them because you cannot mandate this. If you think that you can control your child's access to porn, um, well, I guess you could lock them up in a basement, but then you'd be in trouble with the law. So, you know, in a normal life, your greatest power, your greatest
Yeah.
influence is love and persuasion and giving them really
Mhm.
good arguments against porn. But again, not in
Yeah.
a couple of 1 hour sessions, over
Mhm.
time, re- regularly, you know,
Mhm.
regularly persuading them. And it cannot be a one and done. It needs to be over the course of their childhood and,
Mhm.
leveling it up as they get older um, with, you know, more and more reasons, more and more evidence. I don't think you're going to
Mhm.
talk to a 7-year-old about porn induced erectile dysfunction. And we don't talk about
Mhm.
it in
Nope.
good pictures, bad
No, we
pictures.
don't.
But you can certainly
Right.
talk to maybe a 12 or 13-year-old boy about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about something that parents are dealing with, and that is nude images. So there's an increase in rates of children, minors, taking nude images of themselves and sharing them
Yeah.
online. Even children, with the amount of young kids that are online and getting groomed and sharing, self-generated nude
Mhm.
images online. This is happening to kids as young as
Mhm.
6. So I want to ask you, sharing nude images of ourselves has happened always, ever since we were able to take pictures of ourselves. But nowadays, the risks are greater than ever. And so, what do we need to be telling our kids about taking and sending nude images of
Well, first of
themselves?
all, let's nip that in the bud with Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior. We have those 5 rules, and we talk
Mm-hmm.
about, you know, if you see a bad picture, if you see a picture of someone without clothes on, you should never share it with another child. But you should never take a
Mm-hmm.
picture of yourself without any clothes on. You should never share any of
Mm-hmm.
those pictures because that's what happens. Kids get online. Um, And it's hard for us parents to think of our children as sexual beings. But there are
Mm-hmm.
an increasing number of people out there who do
Mm-hmm.
get sexually aroused. by children and by photos. And really, the porn industry has done this. I mean, they have, um, it's very extreme to think of having sex with a child. That is extreme. That creates more dopamine in the brain. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, Pornhub, which is one of the biggest uh, porn platforms, it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
YouTube for porn.
Mm-hmm.
If you go there for straight porn, they're going to start introducing you to other kinds. They're going to try to broaden
Mm-hmm.
so that you will be on
Yeah.
there more hours. And
Mm-hmm.
so getting back to kids sharing nudes. Sorry, I kind of wandered there,
No, it's
but
okay. My mind's going all over the place too.
you you
Yeah.
you want to teach them from an early age that it's just not safe. That a picture
Yeah.
you share of your private parts, it's not that your body is bad. We make it very clear in Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. I make it very clear that your private parts are good. They are good,
Mm-hmm.
right? But taking pictures of them and sharing them,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not good, not safe, right?
Yeah.
So when a child, I mean, this has led to kids committing suicide when somebody
Mm-hmm.
they share a picture with somebody that they think
Mm-hmm.
is a friend online, and kids are so naturally trusting. It's
Yeah.
difficult,
Yeah.
and we don't want to make them cynical at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but just this one teaching, never, no matter who asks you, and if someone ever asks you to take a picture of yourself without clothes on, you come
Mm-hmm.
and tell me. Um, so kids can be groomed online. They can be groomed by actual in-person perpetrators. They
Mm-hmm.
can and predators. Um, so
Yep.
that one thing, teaching them that one thing will keep them so much safer. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure, you know, why children, even after you talk about like, because, well, as they get a little older in middle school,
Mm-hmm.
nudes are seen as like it's like currency, okay, especially for boys. If they can
Mm-hmm.
collect, these nude images, it's currency for their
Mm-hmm.
social standing. And girls the same way. It's currency.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to kind of like play a different tape in our mind, like
Mm-hmm.
these kids use nudes as social currency. Um, so we have to get in there early and talk about how, our
Mm-hmm.
bodies are special, and there's some parts that we need to
Mm-hmm.
keep private and safe for our own
Yeah.
safety, and start at a very young age. Um, I was at a conference for preschool teachers, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Early childhood educators, and heard a
Mm-hmm.
story from one of the people attending my class that she had a 3-year-old in her life that had they found like that she had obviously access to a device. She was recording
Mm-hmm.
herself, video of herself taking her clothes off and in nude, and they were like really
Mm-hmm.
concerned about that. And then they found her then they found videos of her trying to have sex with the family pet and recording this. Now, at that point,
How would she know how to
I
do what is
know, I know, but she'd seen her parents take videos ever since she was 1 day old.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just such a natural part. They figure it out really
Mm-hmm.
quick, and
Mm-hmm.
um, and some parents even teach their kids how to do it, how to take a picture. I would,
Mm-hmm.
I would, I would hesitate and just think about that for a moment. Like,
Yeah.
is this a good
Mm-hmm.
thing to teach a 3-year-old?
Mm-hmm.
So in any
Yeah.
way, in any case, she learned. They got the police involved, law enforcement, trying to figure out who was the perpetrator. And guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Porn. She had been viewing
Yeah.
porn, and porn was a
Oh
perpetrator,
my
and
God.
porn had taught her this, and they couldn't find any, hands-on predator perpetrator. So
Oh my God.
if it can happen to a 3-year-old, and this was in a
Mm-hmm.
conservative state, this child had good parents, like Um, I can't believe this is the only story. So I don't mean
Yeah.
to be fear mongering. I'm just
Mhm.
saying that kids can learn very quickly. They imitate what they see. Their
Mhm.
brains are designed to imitate, you know? Kids love to imitate what
Mhm.
they see their moms do and their dads do. And if they see
Yeah.
porn,
Yeah.
they are hardwired to imitate what they see in
Mhm.
porn. And if it's not with themselves, it can be with other children.
Mhm. Well, you mentioned treating nude images as like a currency, and a lot of kids who are on social media report being asked for nude imagery, and they'll be paid for their nude imagery. So it's like something they can
Mhm.
sell. They're being asked to
Right.
sell from whenever they go on social media. That's so common.
Yes, and
And I
it's the
would,
first, it's just
yeah,
that first little pull you in, pull you in. If I can
yeah,
pay you 20, 30, 40, $50 for a nude image,
hmm,
that's
right.
an easy way to
I
make
know.
some money. Why not? But that's
Yeah.
actually just the very first hook because they have
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
whole game plan for
Hmm.
you.
Extortion scheme. Yeah.
And that's just the very first step. So if we can, as our kids get on social media, and we honestly at
Hmm.
Defend Young Minds, we have seen the
Hmm.
studies, and we really truly believe children are better
Hmm.
off of social media until 16.
Hmm.
And that may sound extreme,
Agree. Hmm.
but look at the science, and that's what it's
Hmm.
telling us.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And then last thing on the sharing of nude images, I think some states are criminalizing sharing of nude imagery of minors, and even like a felony in some states. So your teen boy may get an image from his friend, and now he shares it on to someone else. He could be
Right.
charged in court. So
Parents
it's
could be charged.
not worth it.
Parents could be charged.
Parents could be charged.
Okay, so who
Wow.
owns
Yeah.
the phone? Who's paying for the
Right.
monthly? Who is legally
Kristen, good
liable
point. Yep.
for
Mm-hmm.
the phone? The parent
Mm-hmm.
is. And that's another point.
Yeah.
When you allow your child to have a phone, first of all, I
Mm-hmm.
hope you look into the phones that are safer phones. Bark,
Mm-hmm.
Gab, TrueMe,
Mm-hmm.
Pinwheel. We have
Yep.
comparison articles on all of those. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but when they have like access to this, I really wish that you give them the gift of access and not
Mm-hmm.
the thing itself. Because once they say, "Oh, this is my phone. I can do whatever I want with
Mm-hmm.
it," um,
Yep.
instead of, "Well, I have access to this phone, but I got to live by your rules." And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's. And can I say one more thing? Kids do not deserve
Yeah.
privacy on their phones. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that
Right.
is an
Right.
insidious idea. As parents, we need to be
Mm-hmm.
overseeing them. We need to be monitoring. We need to be mentoring. And I used to tell my
Mm-hmm.
kids, okay, we have these rules, and
Mm-hmm.
they're from the time, you're a baby till you're 18 years old, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of your life, and I put my arm way out, um, you
Yeah.
can do whatever you want to do, right? But up
Yeah.
until
Right.
you're in our, it's our stewardship as your parents. And so we have an article
Yeah.
about this too. Kids do not deserve privacy on devices.
Mm-hmm.
Really think about that. They really don't. And they don't
Mm-hmm.
deserve the burden of it, to be honest, because they're not
Mm-hmm.
developmentally ready for the burden and the
Yeah.
responsibility that a smartphone gives them. So
Mm-hmm.
they don't deserve privacy and they don't deserve privacy. I mean, they really just don't
Mm-hmm.
deserve the burden of it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And that's a common theme in parents when it comes around to the holiday time and you see all those ads for, give your kid this device. It's like, no, okay, we can't give it as a present because then they think that it belongs to them. And then imagine in a month when they're watching porn on their phone and you want to take it away, they're like, no, it's mine. You gave it to
Mhm.
me.
Right?
Um,
Perfect. Yeah.
okay, so
And
let's
just
start to close
one
out. But
more thing,
yeah,
Nikki.
go ahead.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, and the names have gone from my brain, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a case, and I know you'll probably recognize it, but it's where the parents are being tried for the young man who took a gun and killed 4 people at, I believe, his high
Mhm.
school. The
Mhm.
parents are being
Mhm.
tried
Right.
and found guilty.
Right.
So um, I think you can kind of see the writing on the wall for how parents need to be responsible, and they're going to be liable for things that are on these
Mhm.
phones.
Mhm. Yeah. I hope to see a societal shift in, the that away from giving our kids unrestricted access, especially in privacy. No more phones in their bedroom. Like it's almost like child neglect. Like you can't do that anymore because of what they can access and who can
Right,
access them,
right.
right? And that's a theme. Like I've been talking about that a lot on in different ways on different episodes recently. So let's just start to close out. But I'm really interested, and I didn't ask you in the beginning. How did you get into this?
Yeah, well, it wasn't one of my life goals. I'll tell you
No, I didn't think so.
that. um, found moved to a new town. Met a woman
Mm-hmm.
who had a large family, and she called me up one evening, and she just told me this really tragic story about her 17-year-old son, her oldest son. They found out that he had been sexually molesting all of his brothers and sisters from the 14-year-old down to the 4-year-old. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of bad things that came out of that. But the
Mm-hmm.
next morning, I woke up and I just felt compelled because porn was involved, and I just felt
Mm-hmm.
compelled to find a resource that could help explain to her younger children, why they should
Mm-hmm.
stay away from pornography. And I looked and looked and
Mm-hmm.
looked. This was back in 2011. Couldn't
Mm-hmm.
find anything. And
Mm-hmm.
silly idea came into my mind. I have a degree in English literature, and I
Mm-hmm.
have a master's degree, and anyway, I just thought, well, I can write this book, I'll just write it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it took 3 years and had a lot of help, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of help from parents. And that was Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, and it's been pretty much a number one bestseller ever since. I think it really
Oh my
just makes these
gosh.
conversations so comfortable. But that's how I got
Mm-hmm.
started. And then I had parents ask me for a junior one. We did that. I
Mm-hmm.
had therapists ask me for a guidebook, which we have for therapists and counselors.
Mm-hmm.
Good Pictures, Bad Pictures guidebook for counseling kids. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently writing one, a Good Pictures, Bad Pictures for girls, because they're getting into porn
Yeah.
in a little different way, and they have some different
Yes.
issues with it.
Yeah.
So writing one
Yeah.
just for girls, and I have many other books ideas, coming out. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I would just say that's how I got started, and I'm really grateful. I'm really very thankful that I could be helping parents,
Mm-hmm.
begin these tricky conversations in a really comfortable, empowering
Mm-hmm.
way, and helping them continue these conversations with their kids.
Yeah. It is so needed because, from my end, being a parent of young kids, there's not a resource out there that's common that everyone's talking about, and parents aren't really talking about this topic amongst ourselves. So I was just really grateful to find you and Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, and Defend Young Minds and all of these resources that you're offering. Um, so defendyoungminds.com is the
Mhm.
website. And then anywhere else that you would encourage listeners to connect with you.
Yes, you can connect with us on Instagram, um, Facebook. I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to be on LinkedIn and X. We are
Mm-hmm.
on X, so all those places,
Okay.
we are there. And of course, we'd love for you to download one of our free guides. We have several free guides, including, is my child, ready for a smartphone? And we
Mm-hmm.
have a digital safety planner, which, digital safety is so huge, but we break it down, give you steps,
Okay.
so that you can, make things safer for your children. We have several
Mm-hmm.
others on defendyoungminds.com under the guides that you can download. Some of them have a small cost, some of them are completely free. It's our gift to
Mm-hmm.
you. And then join us, subscribe to our newsletter. We put one out every week and
Great.
just have tons of timely articles, great content. And all of this is my, really, it's my gift back to
Hmm.
parents. Um, and a big thank you for, purchasing good pictures, bad pictures. And then we give it back on our website through all of this great content and through our social
Yeah.
media.
And we're really grateful for that. And I just agree that we need to be having these conversations early and not let the internet do that job for
Right.
us. And the point that I made earlier, like we don't live in a society anymore where we can afford to let our kids kind of figure it out on their own.
No.
So really grateful
Well,
for you and
thank you.
Defend Young Minds,
Thank you.
and
We
thank
really,
you.
Nikki, we have two choices, and that is let the internet do it, and cross
Hmm.
our fingers, or be
Yeah.
intentional and defend
Yeah.
their young minds. And I think that's really the
Mm.
better way to go because the other way hasn't been working. Yeah.
No, not at all. Thank you, Kristen, for being here. I really appreciate your
Thank
work.
you, Nikki.